It was great meeting so many people interested in social media at the Business Next conference in Taiwan. I got a few follow-up questions that people were curious to get answers to, which I'll try and answer right now. This question: our customers are all above their 40s, waiting for the younger generation of consumers to grow up. What can we do in social media for the middle age rather than waiting around? Well, you don't necessarily have to wait around. There are an awful lot of older users of social media. You might be surprised that many of the customers you have are actually very involved in platforms such as Facebook or Plurk in Taiwan. So I'd search around. I wouldn't accept it as a given that they aren't actually in the social media platforms. What advice for a chain store that wants to engage in social media? Should you focus on brand image, not sales? Well, sales is one thing you could focus on, actually, interestingly, not just brand image. There have been many successful examples of retailing online where people use a platform. Actually, in Malaysia, there's a lot of convenience stores that use Twitter, where they'll have they'll offer a special deal at a certain time of the day. The first 5 people to come in who see this message can get a discount on whatever they're trying to buy. So I don't think you need to just concentrate on brand image, but certainly brand image is one aspect that can be very useful. You can also look to show your expertise about certain products by sharing with people what you know about them or the value that they could have. Next question: my company wants me to do something on social media, but our major customers are not using the internet. Again, I would check and see whether that is in fact the case. I think you will find that there are a lot of people who are your customers or your potential customers who may be a lot more involved in social media than you're actually giving them credit for. That's why we advocate, really, the first step for social media is to do a listening program. With listening, what you can do is figure out what people are saying about your brand, what they're saying about your competitors, and what are the potential ways to engage with them. What's the next driver of social media? I think the next major trend that we're looking at right now is really the live internet, the real-time internet. This is all about status updates. This is all about people looking at what's happening here and now. Another very important trend in social media is the mobile internet. We're seeing this more and more. Geolocation, one very interesting service to look at right now for Twitter, and hopefully it's available for Plurk, is Foursquare, where people can talk about locations and give recommendations about a restaurant or somewhere that they think is interesting to go to. If social media is fragmented, this is the next question, how to run a diversified, targeted/fragmented marketing campaign in social networks successfully? Well, you shouldn't care what platforms you are on. There's going to be fragmentation. There's going to be development of the market as it goes forward. Social media is a very rapidly changing world. So what you want to do is use every platform that could be potentially relevant to you and to your customers, and really use that in an opportunistic manner. And not worry about the fragmentation. That's not your problem. That's the problem of the business model of these social media platforms. And it's also why I would advocate having a blog as a central zone to keep all of your sort of a home base of everything that you're doing in social media. That way, if whatever social media service becomes very fragmented or even goes out of business, you still have that material yourself in a place that is of value to you. Do you have specific advice, do's and don'ts, to an international enterprise who wants to engage in social media in many countries? Yes. Again, the first piece of advice is to listen. You want to really figure out what is being said about you and your brand in every country that you're operating in. This raises the level of complexity of what you're doing because many countries have different social media ecosystems. For example, in China there will be many bulletin board services, whereas in Japan it's very much a mobile social networking environment. So you need to find out what is going to work in every country. There's not a single solution for any situation. You just look at the diversity of search engines. Baidu is the #1 in China. Naver is #1 in Korea. Yahoo is #1 in Taiwan. Google is very popular across Southeast Asia, much of Southeast Asia. So it really depends on where you are and what you're doing, but it's certainly doable. It's very, very doable. The next question is, or the last question, how do you leverage Facebook API to do marketing? Really what I'm talking about is social media. It's not really something to do with a specific API. I would look at the API of Facebook as something that is powerful in terms of using it to connect with people, to build communities. The power of an API is that you can link Facebook to your identity online outside of the Facebook arena, so you can have sort of a Facebook login on your website, for example, or other aspects like that. But I wouldn't look to a technical solution as really the answer to your problems. I would more look to the using a Facebook API or any API as a way to gather people in a community around your brand and the interests that you have. So I hope this answers all the questions that there were left over in Business Next, and I look forward to another visit very soon to Taiwan, but feel free to leave further questions on my blog at thomascrampton.com, and see you soon in Taipei.